Hi friends, I'm Laura and this is Lalo Yoga and Wellness. Welcome to your practice session. Today we are going to be focusing on a wrist light. I don't like to say wrist free because we still may put a little bit of weight on the wrists. But really this practice is all about being able to move while keeping a lot of the pressure out of the hands. Let's get started. We're going to start here in a seated position, any comfortable position for you. So it might be cross-legged, maybe you have your legs extended. You can even sit on a block or on a bolster to give you a little bit of elevation if that's more comfortable for you. I like to start in a bound angle. I have very tight hips, so it takes a little while for them to loosen up and be ready to go. We're just going to start by taking a moment to get grounded in our space, start feeling comfortable in our body, and just noticing how our bodies are feeling today. And then we start to tune into our thoughts. And if we're feeling lots of scattered thoughts, just watch them go by and begin to turn our focus to our breath. That breath is going to help unite our body and our thoughts together. If it feels good, you can let your eyes close here, or you can leave them open and just focus on one spot on the floor, or maybe take a soft focus on your feet or your hands, whatever feels good for you. And as we start to follow the breath, we can begin to deepen that breath. Maybe taking it a little bit further down into the diaphragm, really filling the belly. On that inhale and then exhale, collapsing the belly. Or maybe you just try to draw that breath out a bit longer as you breathe in and breathe out. Give yourself a little more length in your spine as you breathe in. And some softness in your muscles as you breathe out. And on your next exhale, let the mouth open a little bit and just sigh that breath away. It's just a signal to your body that we're changing gears. You can use that signal anytime you want off the mat. You need to change from one thing to the next. Sometimes that little sigh is all you need. Let's take a breath together, reaching the hands out and up. Exhale and bring those hands back down. Let's do that again. Inhale, reach out and up. Maybe we follow the fingers with our gaze, checking into the neck, see how it feels. Exhale and let the hands come down. We're going to extend our legs out long. Find some active movement here in the legs, so we're not just sort of slumping into it or flopping into it, but we want to feel the length of the legs. Their toes are pointed straight up, and we take a nice big deep breath. This time as we exhale, we're going to begin to hinge forward from the hips and reach down toward the legs. What I want you to think about is keeping that upper body nice and tall without rounding through the spine. So we may not get that far. We're still a little cold here in the muscles. So maybe you're just reaching for the shins or the ankles. If you have a strap or a towel even, you can wrap that around the balls of your feet to give you a little bit more length through the upper body. Let's take one more breath in this. And on your next exhale, now you get to just sort of relax into it. Loosen up the back, let the head drop. I'm going to place the hands at the back of the thighs and bring your feet flat on the floor. You can leave the hands at the back of the thighs or maybe put them on the front of the shins, whichever feels best for you. We're going to draw the chest toward the body, sit a bit taller, and lift the gaze. Just find a little tiny bit of a back bend through that upper back And then exhale, sort of scooping the hips, rounding the spine, letting the chin drop. Inhale, lift the gaze. And exhale, rounding through that spine. Inhale, coming to neutral. Let's take the legs either cross-legged or into that bound angle once again. Let's take a nice big deep breath up. This time as we exhale, let's take your left hand to the top of your right knee and bring the right hand behind you, a bit like a seat back, and just take a look over your shoulder. Gentle stretch to start waking up the spine. Let's take one more breath here, sit a bit taller. And if you can, see if you can give a little bit more twist as you exhale. Inhale, both hands reaching high, facing the front. Exhale, let's take the right hand to the left knee. Left hand comes behind you. We're taking that little look over the shoulder, sitting up tall. Every inhale, we go a bit taller. Every exhale, deepen the twist. Let's take one more breath here. And on that next inhale, reaching both hands high. And we bring the hands down to the floor in front of us. If we're in bound angle, maybe the hands come to your feet. If you are cross-legged, maybe they're just in front of you on the floor. And again, we're going to start to reach those hands out, maybe curl them slightly with your fingertips, keeping the back nice and long without rounding through the spine. Maybe taking the gaze about 2 feet in front of you. Finding a little length here in the spine. And on your next exhale, start to push yourself back up into a seated position. Let's bring the knees together, and we're going to either keep the hands here on the knees, or we can take them off the knees as we begin to move into a boat pose. So find a letter V shape here with your body, hands on or hands off. You may also want to lift the feet up, or even reach the hands overhead or extend those legs out, whichever feels best to you. I want you to focus on keeping the chest lifted. I'm going to hold this boat for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now tuck your chin and start to lengthen out the legs, lower down. See if you can keep those legs hovering over your mat. You can give a little touchdown if you want to give yourself some support for 5, 4, 3, 2. We're not done. 1, come right back up to your boat, whichever version you're interested in, and hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let your feet come down to the floor, hands on the back of the thighs, and we just start to roll it down. Tuck the chin slightly as you come down to the floor. If you need to reposition yourself on your mat, go ahead and do that. Let's bring the palms alongside the body, facing down, and pull your feet till they are underneath your knees. And find a little scoop here at the hips. So you're going to feel those hips tip up slightly, and when you do, your lower back's going to be touching the ground. And then continue to peel the spine off the floor, 1 vertebra at a time. You might want to lift your head slightly so it's not sliding on the mat. And as you're in this bridge pose, imagine drawing your heels closer toward your back side, and you start to feel the back of the legs really wake up here, and then slowly lower down, 1 vertebra at a time. Let's take a breath. Let's try that again. Scoop through the hips, peel up 1 vertebra at a time, and then we slowly begin to lower it down. This time, extend your right leg straight up to the ceiling, almost like you're kicking through that ceiling, so your foot is flat to the ceiling. Scoop those hips 1 more time and start to lift and lower it back down. Let's do that again, keeping your right leg extended. Lift and lower it back down. Let's put the foot down. Extend the left leg toward the ceiling. Nice and long through the leg again. Inhale and lift. And bring it back down. Don't forget your breath here. Inhale and lift. Exhale and bring it back down. Let's bring the left foot on the floor. We're going to kind of put those two things together. So let's scoop through the hips, lift, extend your right leg and bring it down. Extend your left leg and bring it down. And then we lower down. Let's try that again. Inhale and lift. Right leg. And then the left. Both feet on the ground, and we begin to lower back down. Let's bring both knees into the chest, give it a little hug here. Breathe in, breathe out. And next we're going to extend your left leg along the floor. Both hands come to that right knee, hugging it in close. You have a couple of options here. You can continue to hover your left leg. You can let the heel drop down for a little more support. Or you can even just tap down with the toe, keeping the knee bent. You decide which you prefer. And then we switch sides. So let's bring that left knee in and extend through the right leg. Same options here. Maybe we're hovering. Maybe we're setting the heel down. Maybe the knee is bent and the toes are tapping down. And then we switch. Now we're going to continue to alternate side to side for the next 15 seconds. So you choose which level you want to be at or which one you want to do. You can change it up anywhere in between if you'd like. 5 more seconds. 3 and 2 and 1. Let's bring both knees in. Give yourself that little hug. Maybe just a little bit of a rock side to side if you're feeling that in the lower back at all. We're going to drop the feet down to the mat now, right at the edges of your mat. Take the arms wide like the letter T, straight out from your shoulders, palms are down, and let the knees windshield wiper side to side. You're getting a little bit of hip mobility with a lot of support from the floor right here. And a little loosening through that lower back. And let's bring those knees right up to the center and pause right here. One more time, hugging the knees in. You're going to tuck your chin and just rock. And come back down. And rock again. And come back down. This time rock all the way up onto your hands. Pushing forward. We're going to take those feet out toward the edges of the mat. Toes out, heels in for Malasana. Maybe you're sitting on a block right here. To give you a little extra support. You're going to need to play with the placement of your feet. My legs are short, so yes, I can have my heels down and still be partially on the mat. But if your legs are longer, that might not work for you. You might be using that block. Maybe your hands stay out front for some extra balance. Maybe you bring the hands up to your elbows, or even press the palms together to push the knees a bit wider. And find that nice wide hip opener. Take a breath. Now we put those fingertips on the ground for balance and start to push up through the feet. Heel toe those feet a little bit closer, big toes together, little space between the heels, and a very generous bend here at the knees. Let your belly start to lay on top of the thighs, and we reach opposite arm to opposite elbow, and let the head begin to hang. As we come into our ragdoll, you can move this around a little bit if that feels good. You can just hold it steady. By the way, you can put ragdoll in place of a forward fold anytime you like. Let's go ahead and just release the hands. No pressure here at the hands. And begin to find some more length in the legs. Keep the hips as over the ankles as possible. And we begin to let the chest draw as close to the legs as we can. Maybe we put the hands on the back of the calves and pull it in a little bit closer. Gaze is toward your knees, maybe even the back of the mat. Now tense your fingers, place them on the front of the legs, And let's lift the upper body until the entire upper body is parallel to the floor, halfway lift. Take a deep breath and really lengthen out through the spine here. Exhale back into your forward fold. Inhale, let's roll up one vertebra at a time. A little squeeze through the glutes to push the hips forward. Shoulders roll up, back, and down as we come into mountain pose. Nice strong mountain pose here. Feel the grounding at the base of your big toe, pinky toe, and into your heel. Knees are a little bit soft. We still have that little squeeze going through the glutes to help keep the lower back protected. Chest is lifted, gaze strong. One more breath. We're going to bring our hands together here at heart center and find an arrow mudra, lacing your last 3 fingers and bringing your pointer and thumb together. Inhale, reach high. Maybe following the hands with your gaze. Exhale, let's take a crescent stretch toward the interior of the mat. Inhale and lift. Exhale, coming to the exterior end of the mat. Inhale and lift. Exhale, step out with your left foot, coming down into a goddess squat. So we're pushing those knees out, toes out slightly. Inhale and reach the hands out long. Take your gaze to the right toward the back end of your mat. Pivot your left foot and the right toes point towards the back end of the mat. Come into triangle pose. Maybe we're bringing the hand on top of the shin. Maybe we're bringing it to the inside or outside of that leg. Maybe all the way down to the mat. And we reach the fingers up high, working on opening through that left shoulder as we come into our triangle pose. Notice the back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat. Pick that back foot up slightly and turn toward your right leg. Reaching the hands overhead, we want to keep that knee long without locking it out. And then we bring the chest down as close to that leg as we can. See what feels comfortable for you. Pyramid pose. We bring the hands down to the mat, pick up the back foot, drop the back knee down, coming into a low lunge. Find your arrow mudra. Inhale and lift. Exhale. Let's bring both hands to the inside of that right leg and turn toward the long edge of your mat. We're going to keep the left leg long, coming into a surfer's lunge. Maybe keeping your hands down for some balance. Maybe bringing the hands up high. Challenge that balance just a little bit. Take a breath. Let it be. Bring those hands down and shift your weight to the other side. Surfer's lunge toward the front of your mat. Take a breath. Exhale. Take your gaze toward the top of your mat. Bring your hands down to the top of that mat. Pick up your back foot and drop that back knee, finding your low lunge. Bringing your hands into the arrow mudra. Inhale and lift. Open the hip. Just let gravity let you sink into it. Let's bring the hands down to the floor. Tuck the back toes. About a 45-degree angle on the back foot as we come into that pyramid pose, straightening out that leg. Maybe hands are to the floor, maybe they're here. Now we take the right hand on top of that right shin. Pivot that back foot slightly till it's parallel to the short edge of your mat, and we reach the hand high to come into our triangle pose. You might be using block here for a little extra support to really open up through that shoulder. Engage your core, bend both knees, and find your goddess squat right here in the center. Inhale and lift. Step the feet together to your right, the back edge of your mat. Let's bring the hands high. Inhale, reach up high. Exhale to the outside. Inhale, center. Exhale to the center. Inhale. Exhale. Hands come to heart center. We're halfway through our moon salutation. We got to get back to the top of the mat. Find your arrow mudra. Inhale and lift. Exhale towards that interior, the center of your mat. Exhale, come up to center. And coming out to the outside of your mat. Come right back up to the center. Step your left foot in and find your goddess squat. Toes out, heels in. Inhale and reach. Lengthen out through the arms. Exhale, pivot the back foot, pivot the front foot, and come into your triangle pose. Open that shoulder toward the ceiling. Take your gaze down to that front foot. Slight pivot of the back foot, so that foot's at about a 45, bringing your chest over the leg. Pyramid. Pick up the back heel, drop the back knee, low lunge. Let's take that arrow mudra. Let your hips sink into it one more time. And release the hands. Take them to the inside of your foot. Pivot towards the long edge of your mat. Surfer's lunge. Same options as before. Maybe you're using your balance with your hands. Maybe you're coming up here to take it to another challenge. And we let the hands come down to the floor. Shift to the center. Weight comes to the back. You can always stay in a higher lunge if the surfer lunge feels like a little too much pressure on your bent knee. That's up to you. See if you can find that smile somewhere deep down inside. And we take our gaze down toward the back edge of our mat. Turn your hands, turn your body, drop the back knee, low lunge, arrow mudra. Inhale and lift, sink the hip in. And we release the hands down to the mat. Tuck those back toes, take that little 45 at the back foot, lengthen out through the front leg, and find your pyramid pose. Sweep your front hand up high for a triangle. A little more pivot. Want to get as much length as you can in that front leg without locking out your knee. And let's engage the core. Come up here to the center, toes out, heels in. Find your goddess squat. Inhale and lift. Step toward the top of your mat. Hands come together. Deep breath in and exhale to the out. Inhale to the center. Exhale. Come back up to the center. Let's bring the hands down heart center. Take a breath. Little space here between the feet, maybe about 10 to 12 inches. We release the hands. Inhale, reach the hands. Set the hips back to come into your chair pose. Take a quick look down, make sure you can still see your toes. If you can't quite see them, maybe stand a bit taller or shift your weight back slightly. One more breath here. And then we begin to lower down. At some point, those heels are going to pop up. That's okay. And then we release the arms around your knees. Ball of yarn. Just make yourself small. Tuck your chin. Release your hands to the floor. Let's step the feet out a little bit wider to come back into our malasana. Find some length all the way through your neck. And release yourself down to the floor. Let's take the legs out long. Once again, looking for that seated forward fold. See if maybe you can reach a little further this time. So take a deep breath up. Keep the length through the spine. Reach toward the feet. Maybe you get a little further this time. You go with whatever your flexibility allows. Find that nice long spine. Let's take one more deep breath, really lengthen out. Exhale, and just let yourself release into it. Now we get those legs a little more active. Roll up through the spine, really bracing through the core. Reach your hands out. Let your chin start to tuck as you roll back. One vertebra at a time. Very controlled. Hands come to the floor. Let's bring both feet flat on the mat. Bring your knees into your chest now. And we find that easy rock side to side, guiding your knees with your hands. Let's take the knees on a big circle, one way. If you feel any spots that are a little bit tight or sore, just pause on that spot or even rock on it to work it out just a bit. And then we take the knees the other way. And we pause in the center. Taking your arms out like the letter T, let your knees just fall to the right. You might want to scoot your hips just a little bit to the other side. Our goal here is to get a nice gentle twist for the spine. We want to keep both shoulder blades on the floor. If it feels good for your neck, you can take your gaze the opposite direction of your knees. And if the head is turned, let's bring it back to the center. Bring the knees up to the center. Reset the spine. And we bring those knees in and drop them to the other side. Again, you might want to scoot those hips back just a little bit to make that twist more comfortable. Same option, you may take your gaze the opposite direction of the knees. Letting your breath slow down. If that head is turned, we bring it back to neutral. Bring the knees toward the shoulders and come back to the center. Reset that spine. Bring the arms a little closer to your body, just wherever they feel comfortable. You can take your feet to the edges of your mat, let your knees fall together as we come into a restorative pose. This is really good if your low back is feeling a little bit tight. You might want to stay here, or if you're more comfortable with it, extend the legs out as we move into our Shavasana. Palms might be down to feel a little more grounded. Palms might be up to get a little more energy. And we spend just a few moments to check in with our body and allow ourselves to just be. We start at the top of the head, let the scalp relax all the way down across the face and throat, wrapping it around to your neck, shoulders, all the way down to your fingertips. Notice the beating of your heart. It starts to slow down. That belly expanding and contracting. We ease our way through the hips, down the legs, right down to the toes. And take a moment just to imagine your heart as a golden ball of light right in the middle of your chest. Every time you breathe in, you feel that golden ball of light expand just a little bit more until it surrounds you. And now as you breathe in, see if you can push that feeling warmth and energy out from your body and maybe to whoever else is in your house. Might be your pets, kids, your plants. And now see if you can press that golden light a little bit further out into your neighborhood. Maybe out to your city, your country, even further to the globe. As you push that energy out, you can feel the energy from everybody else. Bringing the warmth, calm, peace. Now you begin to bring that energy back into your being, slowly pulling it back in, filling you up. We bring a little bit of movement to the feet, to the hands, the wrists, coming back into our body. And slowly making our way to a seated position. We let the chin drop toward the chest, releasing any tension there. Dropping the ear to one side. And we slide the chin across the chest, other ear to the other side. And we bring that chin back to the chest. If the eyes are closed, we start to slowly blink them open. And let's take one final breath together in our practice, reaching the hands high. Exhale, bringing those hands to heart center. May you have peace in your thoughts, kindness in your words, and hope in your hearts. From my heart to yours, namaste.